everything in that skeleton lecture, right? So don't hold me inclusive to what I say on these recordings, okay? We're just kind of going over broad spectrumly everything here. Okay, so we have the axial skeleton versus the appendicular skeleton. So what makes up the axial skeleton?
The
skull, the spine, bones, vertebral column, not spinal cord, right? So vertebral column,
the ribs,
sternum, hyoid bone, okay, which is not here. Okay, so we'll do the skull next. So obviously skull, then we have our vertebral column. So we start with what? Cervical, how many? 7 across all species, right? Then we have our thoracic, how many in dogs and cats?
13.
Okay, then we have our lumbar, how many? 7. And our sacrum is how many? 3 fused in the dog and cat. And then our coccygeal, and those are, or our caudal, those are our tail vertebrae, and those can vary, right? So depending on the breed, depending on what happened to the animal, that is obviously going to be a very, very highly variable number. Okay, 7, 13, 7, 3,
random.
1 to 30 million. Okay, now with these, you need to know the numbers, because I might have this one marked, I might have this one marked, I might have that one marked, and I would say, you know, what type and what number is that vertebral body, right? So if I said this one, this would be
C2.
cervical, 3rd. Okay, if I said this one,
Thoracic 5.
thoracic vertebral body 5. Okay. Now with each vertebral body, we have a couple of things on them. So these are known as what type of process? Spinous processes. Okay. What about the ones coming off the sides? Transverse processes. Okay. So specifically with C1, what's its name? Well, what's the name? The atlas, right? So what are the transverse processes? Wings, okay? So the atlas is special. So C1, the atlas, has special processes, and that it has very exaggerated transverse processes. And what else about it is weird? It's just a ring, right? So there's no spinous process, and there's really no body to it. It's just a ring with wings, okay? Then C2, what about C2 is important? Axis. It has this really large spinous process, and what else? You said dorsal processes. Can't really see it, right? What's the little piece that's going to interdigitate with C1?
Oh,
Atlox.
That's the joint, but what is the structure? The dens. It's that little nub projection. You can't really see it on here. Look at it on your PowerPoint. Okay? And then C3 through C7, it's just the spinous processes are going to start to change. Then we have our thoracic, so obviously they have pretty large spinous processes until we get to about, what is this, 11, 12, 13, 14? Nope, not 14, 13, 13, 12, 11, 10. So when we got to 10 and 11, see it started to switch, but it's still thoracic, okay? So I like to pin these because they look very similar to lumbar. So you have to be able to count so that you know that's still thoracic. What's the other indication? The ribs, right? Obviously, if there's a rib attached to it, it's still thoracic vertebrae, right? Okay. All right, so that's our vertebral column. Then when we get to our rib cage, what do we need to know about a rib cage?
true and false and hanging.
Right, so the differences between sternal, asternal, and floating ribs. So true ribs, false ribs, and floating ribs. True ribs mean they
Attached to the sternum.
attach directly to the sternum. False ribs mean they attach to the cartilage preceding them. Floating ribs mean they don't attach. Okay, so within a head we have within a rib we have a head of the rib, the body of the rib, and then the cartilage. This is known as the costal chondral junction. This is the costal cartilage. Okay, so where the rib, the bony part, and the cartilage meets, costal chondral junction. Okay, again, you would need to know whether or not it's a true rib or a false rib, sternal versus asternal, and the number. So I could pin this and say, describe this rib to me. Okay, you would tell me rib 9 and true, sternal. Okay, because it's attaching directly to the sternum. Okay, what about the sternum? What do we need to know? Manubrium and xiphoid. So the first sternal vertebral body is the manubrium. The last is the xiphoid. Great. Okay, hyoid apparatus is not there, so don't worry about it.